something overlooked when learning English is rhetorical questions. And here we're stepping slightly outside of grammar and we're bringing together grammar and vocabulary to make a meaning which seems opposite at first until you understand what's going on. So let's look at an example to explain what I mean by a rhetorical question. Now, has anyone ever asked you, can you pass the exam? And you're thinking, there is no chance that I can pass the exam. Now, a native speaker might say, no, I can't pass the exam, or they may answer in a slightly strange way. Can I pass the exam? Do pigs fly? And let me draw your attention to the phrase, do pigs fly? Because of course they can't fly. Of course pigs can't fly. And I won't pass the exam. So this is an example of a rhetorical question. Do pigs fly? Now, I know the person listening knows the answer. I didn't really have to ask the question because the answer is well known. And this is a rhetorical question. We didn't really want the answer. So rhetorical questions are not supposed to be answered. They emphasise obvious truths. Do pigs fly? Of course they don't. You know they don't. And you know that I'm not going to pass the exam because I just don't have the ability. I haven't revised enough for whatever reason. And this is one way of making a rhetorical question. And this is when questions are given where the answer is well known. Let's look at one more similar example. Has anyone ever asked you to keep a promise? And have they ever doubted whether you will keep your promise? And you perhaps get a bit upset about this because they've doubted whether you'll keep your promise. You think you always keep your promises. So you say this, will I keep my promise? Is the Pope Catholic? Now, this is a bit easier for students in European or South American countries where people are very familiar that the Pope is the lead figure in the Catholic Church. But it's fairly well known across the world. You could have replaced it with a different figure who is very well known. But the point here is the Pope Catholic? Well, of course he is. Of course the Pope is Catholic. And in the same way, I will keep my promise. So again, we've asked a question where the answer is well known. And we've put that together with our own question because we are saying our own question is the same. The answer should be well known to that as well. Will I keep my promise? Of course I will. You know I will. It's well known that I will keep my promise. In the same way that the Pope is Catholic. It's a rhetorical question. You don't need to answer it. I'm emphasising truth by asking the question, by presenting you with a question that's obvious, so that you will also think the answer to my first question is obvious. I won't pass the exam. I will keep my promise. That's one type of rhetorical question. Here's a slightly different type. Did you not rob the bank? Well, here it's slightly different. We don't have that extra question afterwards. But there's something about the word not here. Did you not rob the bank? And here, by using not, we're doing a similar thing. We're emphasising, of course you did. Did you not rob the bank? Normally we would say, didn't you rob the bank? That would be a checking question. But by putting not after the subject, we are changing the form in some way that turns it into a rhetorical question where we are suggesting that the answer is obvious. Did you not rob the bank? Of course you did. We don't need to talk about that. I'm emphasising truth by putting that negative in that position. So we could also use questions with a negative to emphasise a truth. Did you not rob the bank? You don't need to answer. I'm saying it in that way because it's obviously true that you did. So rhetorical questions slightly play with grammatical rules. They slightly play with vocabulary rules. But the point is, by emphasising a truth, we get a rhetorical question where the answer is not needed. I'm telling you the answer is not needed because the truth is obvious. You didn't need to answer the question or ask the question in the first place.